Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Making It Make Sense with Nicole the News Lady. I am Nicole the News Lady. Today it is November 10th, 2025. Last Tuesday was Election Day 2025. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. We've got some lesson learned, a step forward for the folks on the left. So, to think about where we're going next, I want to take us back in time, right? If you've been paying attention to the podcast, the show, you'll see that I bring historical context for current events, what's going on now. And we have to look no further than around 2010 with the good old folks of the Tea Party. Y'all remember them, right? So in 2010, the Tea Party was born. It was the far right's visceral reaction to a government that these voters thought was just too big.
Large government. Too many taxes.
The Constitution was being trampled on.
The country's basically going deeper into debt.
We need to restore a sense of faith.
Bring the country back to its founding principles.
For Tea Party members, the prime example of big government and legislative excess is the Obama health care plan, now law, or as Tea Party followers call it, Obamacare. Obamacare has a mandate. All Americans will eventually have to get health insurance. This mandate, say Tea Partiers, is, well, un-American.
It's when you mandate something that you have no business mandating.
It's socialism.
Because you enjoy citizenship, have to buy something.
It's simply unconstitutional.
Socialism is not freedom.
I don't think it is socialized medicine. It's a far cry from that, but of course it is more government involvement.
When Obama took office, most Americans were really more concerned about their jobs and their mortgages in the midst of a global recession. The U.S. unemployment rate was hovering close to 10%. Obama's decisions in response to this economic misery, says Chris Arterton, planted the seeds of discontent among many Americans, including most Tea Party members.
Bailing out Wall Street and the banks and the automobile companies. And a lot of people are saying, this isn't helping me. I'm the one who's unemployed. I'm the one who's about to lose my house.
But it was George W. Bush's administration that initiated many of the economic rescue policies continued by President Obama. But Bush is a Christian conservative, and so are many Tea Party supporters.
Working class white Americans, those that don't have a college degree, they felt like they were being left behind. Republican voters had waited long enough to see change that they were promised since the mid-90s.
What, in your view, have the Republicans done wrong?
Well, remember, the Republicans had a majority in Washington for the better part of 10 to 12 years, and they didn't fulfill some of the promises they had made in 94 when they were elected. You know, things like a balanced budget amendment, things like banning earmarks, things like term limits. These are fundamental things, among others, that people are looking for from Washington. If you say you're going to do that and you get elected, then do it. There's got to be some level of accountability. And unfortunately, politics today are full of people that think they can say or do anything because once they get elected, they think they'll raise so much money they can make you forget.
For the people that they elected, they felt that they were not being conservative enough.
Repeatedly throughout American history, a third party will not work. Ross Perot, what have you. So if the Tea Party becomes a third party, it almost literally on the ballot, it almost surely will fail. What the Republicans are hoping that they can do is say, look, we're the conservative party of the two parties, but we're conservative enough. And that's where they're having problems. I mean, these Tea Party activists are saying to some of the most prominent Republicans, no, you're not conservative enough.
So from 2010 all the way up to 2024 election, I like to call this the Republican Party revolution. Kinks were still being ironed out in 2016 when President Trump ran and won the first time. When he tried to implement some unprecedented changes and shifts to the federal government, he ran into some roadblocks, or what he referred to as the deep state, even from people within his own party.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively.
Trump had an appeal to Americans. He had an aggressive approach to overhaul the government, a body, an entity that just wasn't working for everyday American people. He captured the ire and the attention of so many Americans. And if we look at exit polls, we see there were shifts on states that we anticipate to go blue and especially some demographic shifts that typically vote blue as well. Not only were people attracted to Trump because of what he said, it was how he said it. People felt like they were talking to a real person, that he understood their plight.
You know, more people tell me about groceries. The word grocery, I've heard it more in the last year than any other word. The cost of groceries, a word that I used a lot on the campaign. It's like an old-fashioned word.
This is what Democrats failed to do, and it was evident in election night 2024.
When older union workers are talking about all the jobs that Biden has brought, and younger union workers are talking about how they want to vote for Trump because Biden hasn't done anything for them. So there's been a connection. I use Biden as the example because of the decades that he's been in service. But I got to tell you, I talk to working class people all the time in my neighborhood and in my family, and they don't feel connected to the Democratic Party.
But fast forward to 2025, Zohran Mamdani enters the chat. He is a self-identified Democratic socialist, and he ran and won as a Democrat for New York City mayor. What was unique about his vision, or what he shared, that we hadn't heard on the left in a while, he presented a vision and a plan that would help everyday New Yorkers. It was one that spoke to affordability, cost of living, housing, and even groceries. He picked up on the messaging that even former Vice President Kamala Harris knew that she missed out during her presidential run.
I mean, first of all, number one issue for everybody is the cost of living. Number one issue. I actually believe that when we think about the election in 24, we should understand that there are, I think, a significant number of people who voted for the guy who's in the White House based on one belief.
I haven't finished the book. Don't tell me who wins. I don't want to know the ending.
It's a thriller. It's a political thriller.
All right.
But they believed him when he said he was going to bring down prices on day one.
Democrats realized that the message just couldn't be, we're not the other guy, we're not Trump, at least we're not Trump. They realized that they needed to stand for something.
Part of the work that we have to do for the Democratic Party going forward is really come to terms with what are we fighting for and not just what we're fighting against. I think part of the problem with where we are now, call it establishment or something else, whatever label we want to put on it, is my fear is that we cannot be a party that is so almost myopically focused on the guy that's currently in the White House. We need to not only be against something, but also we need to be understanding of how we got here and that it's a bigger apparatus and not just the one guy. But the second point that is equally important, which we're not emphasizing, is what we stand for, right? And so not just fighting, it's about anti-Trump, but it is about healthcare. It is about affordable housing. It is about what we need to do around childcare. Because people got to know what you stand for so that they're clear about what they're fighting for.
And in Mamdani's race, he made the apparent of what he stood up for.
I will freeze the rent. I won't defund the police. I will make buses fast and free. I won't decriminalize misdemeanors.
So we can look at Mamdani's win as what it looked like if the Democrats actually took those lessons learned and put them into action. And political analysis verifies this.
I'm going to show you this example from New York City, where Mamdani won 2/3 of the voters who said that cost of living was the most important issue. And that was another common theme. We saw something similar in New Jersey, where Democrat Mikey Sherrill won voters who said the economy was the most important issue. Those were two of the bigger themes that we saw play out yesterday, Jim.
Yeah, and I want to ask you more about New York because obviously a big change in the Big Apple with Mamdani winning. Was it just the economy, or was there something else about Mamdani that appealed to voters there?
So really interesting things here. I'm going to show you, this is the map of New York neighborhoods. And so what you see is the blue areas, the blue neighborhoods are places where Mamdani won. And it's pretty spread out, right? A lot of places in Manhattan, a lot of neighborhoods in the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn, all there. Now, what's interesting is if I compare that back to the recent primary from a couple of months ago, all these orange areas are places that Andrew Cuomo did well in the primary, but if I then overlay the results from last night, you see Mamdani do better. That means he was able to activate a lot of those Democratic voters, and that partly tells the tale. The other part of that, and I'm going to go back to the exit poll here from New York, and I'm going to show you the age breaks, because this was also important, had a lot of young voters. Look at that, under age 30, 78% for Mamdani. So he's able to turn out those young voters, turn out a lot of those Democrats, and that's a big part, actually, of the tale there in New York City, Jim.
He proved that Democrats can win this way, and it only takes political will. But not everybody in the party agrees on this. While notable Democrats like Kamala Harris and leader Hakeem Jeffries gave Mamdani endorsements, although begrudgingly.
Zohran Mamdani has led a lightning rod campaign with a message that's resonated with New Yorkers' affordability as he works to continue to get the backing from his party. Last night, Mamdani picked up a lukewarm endorsement, although his biggest yet, from former Vice President Kamala Harris, who said she supports the Democrat in the race. Harris appeared last night on MSNBC, and in the interview, she went on to say, quote, "As far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported."
They still stood with the likes of AOC and Bernie Sanders and even the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Mamdani even received calls of support from President Obama. But New York's Chuck Schumer, the highest ranking Democrat in the Senate, and what folks would think is the image of the Democratic machine in New York, he failed to give Mamdani his support. Looking forward, the Democratic Party may anticipate some infighting, and that's fine. Looking at the Tea Party, history shows us that if they do, they're actually on the right track. Just take a look at the 2012 Republican primary. They had debates where they had traditional Republican candidates as well as Tea Party candidates side by side on the stage during debates.
I just wanted to add that we cannot forget that in the midst of this executive order, there was a big drug company that made millions of dollars because of this mandate. The governor's former chief of staff was the chief lobbyist for this drug company. The drug company gave thousands of dollars in political donations to the governor, and this is just flat out wrong. The question is it about life or was it about millions of dollars and potentially billions for a drug company?
One of those candidates was former Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann. She ran for president that year, and in 2011, she also delivered the Tea Party's response to President Obama's State of the Union address.
Good evening. My name is Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann from Minnesota's 6th District. I want to thank the Tea Party Express and Tea Party HD for inviting me to speak this evening. I'm here at their request and not to compete with the official Republican remarks. The Tea Party is a dynamic force for good in our national conversation, and it's an honor for me to speak with you.
Here we see that the Tea Party made it very clear that they were not the Republican Party. But if we look at 14 years later from 2024 election, the Tea Party's priorities are reflected in the current MAGA movement, and that has been fully embraced by the Republican Party. So it seems that the left understood its missteps. Perhaps the Democratic Party revolution won't take 14 years as it did on the right, but it won't happen without a fight. Tuesday's early success offers candidates on the left some courage and a roadmap to chart a new direction for the Democratic Party. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you see any semblance from the Democratic Party or the Democratic Socialist Party and the Tea Party and MAGA. Whatever you think, please be sure to share it in the comments. Share this video with someone that you know that you think is interested in this conversation. And then I will see you again next week.